June 14, 1998, Salt Lake City. 41.1 seconds on the clock. 1 point down, no Pippen, no timeouts left in the tank. Just a 35-year-old man with a fever behind his eyes and the entire universe of basketball tilting on the edge of a razor. What Michael Jordan is about to do in the next 41 seconds will be studied by grandchildren who were not born yet, dissected in coaching clinics on continents Michael Jordan has never visited, and replayed on a loop until the plasma screens themselves burn out from overuse. But here is what nobody talks about. Here is the secret buried under 28 years of highlight reels, poetry, and pundit worship. That final shot, that famous shove on Bryon Russell, that frozen follow-through that lives on every dorm room poster from Chicago to Manila. It almost never happened. Not because Michael Jordan choked, not because the Jazz played smarter, because of a single decision Phil Jackson made in the huddle 9 minutes earlier that nobody in a suit has ever publicly explained on camera. Strap in, because the greatest 41 seconds in sports history were engineered by a cascade of tiny, forgotten dominoes, and Michael Jordan is only one of them on the board. Let me take Michael Jordan out of the poster for a second. Peel off the tongue, the shrug, the cologne commercials, the 6 trophies. What is left is a 35-year-old man who has not missed a single game, regular season or postseason, since crawling back from a baseball diamond in Birmingham. 3 years of basketball with no off-ramp, no load management, no science-approved rest days. Michael Jordan's knees are 2 overworked hinges. Michael Jordan's back is a filing cabinet full of complaints nobody is allowed to read. And Michael Jordan is now standing in a hostile arena where the noise is not noise anymore. It is weather. It is a hurricane made of 20,000 Utah lungs, and it is pressing against Michael Jordan's eardrums like water at the bottom of a pool. This is the setting nobody bothers to remind you of, because the mythology is cleaner if Michael Jordan floats above it. But Michael Jordan is not floating. Michael Jordan is bleeding oxygen. And Michael Jordan is one bad possession away from having to fly back to Chicago for a Game 7 that could unravel a decade of dynasty in one bad shooting night on hostile hardwood in front of a crowd waiting to bury Chicago. Rewind the tape. Not to 1998, not to the flu game. Go all the way back to the label. Before the rings, before the aura, before Nike printed a silhouette on shoeboxes across 4 continents. Michael Jordan was called a stat patter, a selfish gunner, the guy with the airtime, but no hardware to show for it. Detroit built an entire defensive scheme, the Jordan rules, specifically designed to make Michael Jordan cry into a locker after buzzers. And the scheme worked. For years, Michael Jordan walked out a playoff series with tears somewhere between the shower and the team bus. The story you have been sold, the one where Michael Jordan is an unstoppable inevitability, only exists because Michael Jordan spent 6 brutal years being stoppable. That is the part they airbrush. That is the pain Michael Jordan later used like other people use coffee. Every fadeaway Michael Jordan buried in 1998 was paid for with a bad boy's elbow in 1988. Every silent stare on the free throw line in the Delta Center was purchased with a locker room tantrum in the Palace of Auburn Hills. This is what pundits miss when measuring legends by trophies alone. This is what the box scores refuse to remember. Then came 1991. Detroit finally cracked. Michael Jordan sat on the Bulls bench and cried into a towel after sweeping the Pistons, not because Michael Jordan had won, but because Michael Jordan had survived. Championship won, Finals MVP won, against Magic Johnson at Magic's peak. Then, 1992, the shrug game. Portland, 6 three-pointers in one half, so casually flicked that even Michael Jordan seemed embarrassed by the arithmetic. Championship 2. Back-to-back, without breathing hard on the ball. Then, 1993, Charles Barkley and the Phoenix Suns, a three-peat that Bird and Magic and Kareem could not pull off in 3 different eras stacked on top of each other. And still, Michael Jordan was not full. Still, Michael Jordan was hungry in that specific way that terrifies psychiatrists and thrills marketers by the busload.
Then, at the peak of the mountain, Michael Jordan walked off. Age 30, prime years, ended by a father's murder, a gambling frenzy in the tabloids, and something quieter Michael Jordan has never fully explained on camera to anyone. Baseball. Buses through the Carolinas, minor league motels with paper-thin walls and vending machines that ate quarters. And then, one letter, faxed to the world. I am back. 2 words. Michael Jordan returned for a playoff run in 1995, and Orlando exposed Michael Jordan. Not the shooter, the conditioning, the rhythm, the chemistry. So Michael Jordan went into a summer many now call the darkest of Michael Jordan's career, filming Space Jam in Burbank by day, lifting weights on a purpose-built court by night, emerging in 1996 like something forged rather than born. 72 regular season wins, ring number 4, ring number 5 in 1997 with the infamous flu game, or food poisoning game, or whatever pizza conspiracy you personally subscribe to. Point being, by the time the 1998 season started, Michael Jordan had already lived 4 different basketball careers on the same set of knees and the same overworked calves.
But here is where the story slips off the rails, because the 1998 Bulls were not a machine anymore. The 1998 Bulls were a beautiful, cracking, expensive vase perched on a shelf too high to save from a fall. General manager Jerry Krause had already told Phil Jackson, in writing, that even if Chicago went 82-0, Phil was gone at season's end. Michael Jordan responded with one sentence that would define the season. If Phil is not coming back, neither am I. That is not motivation. That is a countdown. Every dribble, every jumper, every airport tarmac, every hotel breakfast in the 1997 through 1998 season was numbered on a calendar Michael Jordan carried in silence. Every teammate knew it. The locker room turned into a set of goodbyes disguised as a schedule. And the whole world was invited to watch the ending because a documentary camera crew was suddenly following the team everywhere, capturing what would decades later become the last dance. Michael Jordan was not just chasing a 6th ring. Michael Jordan was writing the period at the end of a sentence Michael Jordan had spent a full decade building word by word.
The regular season was a slog. Michael Jordan averaged 28 points, won a 5th MVP, and looked older than the box score suggested from any camera angle. Round 1, Michael Jordan poured 36 a night on the Nets. Round 2, Chicago manhandled the Hornets in 5. Then came Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers, the only team all season that seemed to genuinely enjoy Chicago's misery. Reggie hit a game-winning 3 in Game 4. Indiana forced a Game 7. And Michael Jordan, in the tunnel before that Game 7, delivered one of the most quietly insane sentences of Michael Jordan's career. We are going to win Game 7. That is a promise. Michael Jordan does not make promises. Michael Jordan does not even promise his wife. But Michael Jordan promised this. And then, Michael Jordan delivered 28 points and dragged Chicago into a finals rematch against Karl Malone, John Stockton, and a Utah Jazz team that had spent an entire year rebuilding a knife specifically for this exact moment on the calendar.
Utah won Game 1 in overtime. Michael Jordan won Game 2 with 37, half of them in the 4th quarter. Game 3 became the largest blowout in NBA Finals history. Chicago 96, Utah 54. A scoreline that looked like a broadcast typo somebody forgot to correct before air. Game 4, Michael Jordan again, 34 points, another double-digit 4th quarter. Series lead 3-1. It looked over. And then Karl Malone remembered Malone was Karl Malone. Game 5 in Chicago. The mailman delivered 39, and Utah crawled out of the United Center alive. Chicago would have to close out the dynasty on the road, in the Delta Center, against a team that had never been more motivated in franchise history. This is the setup nobody appreciates anymore.
Because everyone jumped straight to the shove and the shot. But the shove and the shot were only possible because of what happens next in a hallway in Utah nobody has film of. The hallway matters more than the highlight reel.
Michael Jordan on the bus to the arena that afternoon reportedly did not speak. Not to Ron Harper, not to Steve Kerr, not to Phil. Michael Jordan reportedly kept staring at a specific point on the back of the seat in front of Michael Jordan, like the seat owed Michael Jordan money and had refused to pay it back for years. Scottie Pippen was not on that bus. Scottie was in a training room getting a lower back injected with something Scottie's own doctor called a Hail Mary. Scottie had been playing through a herniated disc for weeks and getting no sympathy from the box scores. And the plan for Game 6 was simple. Get 20 quality minutes from Scottie. Let Michael Jordan handle scoring. Let Dennis Rodman handle chaos. Let Tony Kukoc handle spacing. And pray. That is the plan. Pray. Coaches do not admit that on record, but the plan was the plan on paper. First possession of Game 6, Scottie Pippen throws down a two-hand tomahawk and lands. Something wrong. Scottie's face folds in on itself like a paper napkin. The back has already surrendered. And here comes the first forgotten domino of the night. Because in that instant, Phil Jackson makes a decision that basketball analysts still argue about in whispers over beers. Phil does not panic. Phil does not switch defensive schemes. Phil does not double Malone. Phil does one small, counterintuitive, career-defining thing. Phil tells Michael Jordan to slow down. Not speed up, slow down. Conserve. Build. Do not go supernova in the first quarter. Michael Jordan hates being told to conserve anything, ever, under any circumstance. But Michael Jordan listens. And you can see the tension in the first quarter tape. Michael Jordan misses. Michael Jordan hesitates. Michael Jordan settles for a fadeaway over Stockton. Laces 1-3, then goes cold as December in Wisconsin. 8 points. 3 of 8. Chicago is only tied because Dennis Rodman refuses to let Utah rebound a single loose ball. Karl Malone already has 12 in the corner. This is not the movie you were promised on the poster. Second quarter. Scottie disappears into the tunnel. Michael Jordan looks up at the scoreboard, and something inside Michael Jordan quietly clicks like a rifle being loaded in slow motion. 15 points in one quarter. Fadeaway. Triple. Alley-oop lob from Kukoc. Fadeaway. Triple. Another fadeaway. 6 field goals in a row. It is not offense anymore. It is arson with a wristband on. Michael Jordan has decided the second quarter is a personal apology to the first quarter. Chicago goes into the locker room down 4, but Michael Jordan has 23 points. And the arena, for the first time all night, has that faint noise basketball arenas make when they know the visitor is not scared. Utah fans know that sound. Nobody talks about it, but Utah fans know exactly what that sound means when it starts to build under the rafters. Third quarter. Scottie limps back onto the floor. Not to play defense, not to score, just to stand. Just to occupy a body-shaped hole in the offense. Because if Scottie is on the court, Utah cannot double Michael Jordan without giving up something. And this is domino number 2. The domino nobody credits in the mythology. For the rest of the game, every possession Michael Jordan runs has a decoy version of Scottie somewhere on the weak side. A phantom, a rumor of a threat. Utah's defensive rotations have to respect a broken man. That shifts inches. And inches are how NBA finals are decided. Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman start a wrestling match in the paint. Bryon Russell and Michael Jordan brush shoulders on the perimeter. Russell talks trash. Michael Jordan does not. Michael Jordan just marks the location, files the moment, waits for the return address to arrive on a slower mail truck later in the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, Utah leads. Michael Jordan drives, fades, buries, ice on the face. Michael Jordan hits 2 free throws. Michael Jordan takes the lead with a slippery mid-range jumper that seems to surprise nobody except the man defending it. Michael Jordan is at 37 points. And then Michael Jordan disappears. 3 straight misses.
3 straight short jumpers, 3 straight red flags. Anyone who has ever played basketball fatigued knows exactly what those short misses mean. The legs are gone. The tank is dry. Michael Jordan is running on the residue of a decade. Karl Malone hits a wide-open jumper. Utah leads by 3 with 2 minutes left. And a Game 7 in Utah with an injured Scottie Pippen and a 35-year-old Michael Jordan is not just possible. It is statistically the single most likely outcome on the planet at that moment in time.
Michael Jordan attacks the rim. Foul. 2 free throws. 1-point game. Michael Jordan attacks the rim again. Foul. Michael Jordan at the line with 59 seconds left, and the moment nobody quotes properly is Dennis Rodman. Rodman turns Rodman's back to the rim, walks toward the crowd, and starts chatting up a Jazz fan mid-free throw, as if the outcome is already decided in ink. That is not disrespect. That is data. Rodman had counted Michael Jordan's free throws in practice for years on end. Rodman knew the number by heart. Michael Jordan buries both. Tie game.
Utah down the floor. Stockton finds Malone in the post. And here is where domino number 3 drops. And this is the one that makes coaches weep openly at coaching clinics decades later. Because the Bulls had spent film sessions all week studying one specific tell in Karl Malone's post-up. When Malone caught the ball on the left block against a smaller defender, Malone would sometimes hold the ball for one extra beat before spinning baseline. That extra beat was the window. Nobody was supposed to use it, because using it required a guard to leave a shooter on the perimeter and reach in from behind, undetected, without a foul call in the 1990s finals in Utah against Karl Malone. In other words, using that window required a suicide mission. Michael Jordan volunteers. Michael Jordan sneaks in from behind. Michael Jordan swipes the ball clean off Karl Malone's hip. No whistle. Utah crowd sound drops 1 full octave in real time. You can hear the room deflate on the broadcast if you turn the volume up loud enough. Michael Jordan is running. 17 seconds. Chicago has the ball. Timeout Utah. 5.2 seconds left after Chicago works the ball back up the floor. What most people do not know is that Michael Jordan did not want a timeout at all. Michael Jordan wanted the flow. Michael Jordan wanted momentum, not a huddle. Phil Jackson agreed. No timeout, no set play, no diagram scribbled on a clipboard in blue marker. Michael Jordan up top, one-on-one. Bryon Russell on Michael Jordan. 5 seconds of prime real estate in the greatest single career in team sport history. Michael Jordan takes 2 dribbles right. Then, the crossover heard around the world. The left hand pushes off. Some people call the push a shove. Some people call it a hand check. Some people call it the greatest legal, illegal, in-between move ever committed on a basketball court in the modern era Russell slips. Or Russell gets pushed. Or Russell simply exists in the wrong lane of the wrong universe for 1/2 of 1 second in one specific city. Michael Jordan rises, elbow tucked, wrist locked. The follow-through freezes in midair like a statue Michael Jordan is casting for Michael Jordan in real time on live network television. The ball goes in. 45 points on the night. Chicago leads by 1. 5.2 seconds left on the clock. Utah still has a chance. Stockton, one of the greatest point guards in league history, gets an open 3 at the wing. It rims out. Ron Harper touches it or fingernails it or breathes on it, and the ball rolls harmlessly toward the sideline. The horn sounds. The Chicago Bulls have won a 6th championship. The Utah Jazz have played 8 full quarters against Karl Malone at peak and John Stockton at peak, and lost to a man on fumes and a phantom named Scottie Pippen. Michael Jordan collapses at midcourt, not from joy, from exhaustion, from the sheer bookkeeping of a life spent proving one thing to one bench in one high school gym in North Carolina. That was the shot. That was the moment. But the shot is not why the shot went in. The shot went in because of Phil's slowdown,
because of Scottie's decoy body, because of Rodman's free throw math, because of a week of Karl Malone film sessions, because of a lifetime of losses to the Detroit Pistons. Michael Jordan was the trigger, but Michael Jordan was not the whole gun.
Here is the part that still gets me every single time. Somewhere in a warehouse right now sits raw footage from that same night showing Michael Jordan crying alone in a training room after the trophy ceremony wrapped up. Not celebrating, not laughing, crying. Because Michael Jordan already knew. Phil was leaving. Scottie was leaving. Dennis was leaving. Steve Kerr, Ron Harper, all of them. The dynasty was a museum exhibit before the champagne dried on the carpet. Michael Jordan knew Michael Jordan was walking away from the only country Michael Jordan had ever felt like a citizen of. And Michael Jordan knew Michael Jordan was doing it on purpose. That is the untold layer. Not the shove, not the shot, the goodbye. The greatest performance in NBA history was also a funeral, and the man who won it was also the man who buried it in one motion. And the truth is, everyone who watched that game on television that night watched a magic trick without knowing what the magic really was. The magic was not the last shot. The magic was that Michael Jordan made the entire building forget for 41 seconds that Michael Jordan was human at all. 28 years later, coaches still show that final possession to rookies on rainy afternoons, and every one of those rookies focuses on the wrong frame. They focus on the release. They focus on the follow-through. They focus on Bryon Russell's shoes sliding sideways on the hardwood. What every one of them should be focusing on is the moment before. The moment Michael Jordan planted a left foot and paused for a full breath. That pause is the entire career in one frame. That pause is Detroit's elbows and a father's murder and a bus through the Carolinas and Space Jam nights and 72 wins and a flu game and a Reggie Miller promise and a Karl Malone film session and a Phil Jackson whisper and a Scottie Pippen ghost and a Dennis Rodman side conversation, all compressed into one still frame the human eye cannot fully register at full speed. Michael Jordan did not win Game 6. Michael Jordan detonated a decade. And then Michael Jordan walked into the tunnel. And Michael Jordan never wore that jersey in a finals again for the rest of Michael Jordan's playing days on record. So the next time somebody asks which Michael Jordan performance is the greatest, do not just say Game 6. Say Game 6 because of everything Michael Jordan carried up the stairs to get